Hello, everybody. Welcome to Heal the Shadow in Your Relationships too. And today we have with us the lovely and effervescent Carol Allen.
Hi,
Welcome.
Fiona. Thank you.
And I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about you, Carol. She is a happily married Vedic astrologer and relationship coach whose mission is to empower women to enjoy truly out of this world love lives. Carol's been featured on, this is impressive, Bridezilla's, Extra, Dr. Drew's Life Changers, and she's been in Chicken Soup for the Soul, Woman's World, Daily Candy, and she is the author of Love is in the Stars, the Wise Woman's Astrological Guide to Men. I love it. So, her
Thank you.
methods are a unique marriage of East and West, combining her training in the astrology of India with cutting edge real world relationship research. So, thanks so much for being with us, Carol.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be with you. I wish I was actually with you. Your room looks so cool. I love that. I love that shades and the angle. I'm moving in.
We're visual people. We're visual. So, you are here in my room with me, actually, and my speakers can attest to it. So
Right.
tell us, Carol, what is Vedic astrology and how is it different?
Oh boy. That's a great question because that's everybody's first question.
Yeah.
It's the system of astrology of India, and it's believed to be the very first system of astrology. Now, who knows, the origins of things like astrology, numerology, palm reading, these things go back way before the mists of time. But the reason I love it and the reason I practice it is it's the techniques and the information and the insight into relationships is so profound. And in India, they still arrange 70% of their marriages. How scary is that? And the majority of the people are Hindu. And so one of the technologies that they use to help ensure that when you marry a stranger, it will go good
Wow.
is they compare the charts of people. And so the techniques for relationships are crazy amazing and help to explain both the light and the shadow in our relationships.
Well, that was going to be my next question because
Oh,
how can astrology help us with our shadow? And you know what? Before we get into that, maybe you want to give your definition of what you talk about, what the shadow means to you.
oh wow. Well, I was really fortunate to interview some amazing people years ago when I had an internet radio show, and one of the people I interviewed was Debbie Ford, the late great Debbie Ford.
Love her. Love
And
her.
she brought the term shadow into so many of our consciousness. Of course, Carl Jung, I think,
He
originated
started it. Yeah.
that. And so she did something called the shadow process, which her
Hmm.
institute has carried on. And it's just this incredible work. And what she said to me is, the shadow is that part of us that we try to deny. And that we almost like holding a beach ball underwater, we try to use this ridiculous force to keep the less than pleasant and pretty and effervescent parts of ourselves from being seen and from even being seen by ourselves. And so it's that side of us that is more primal and more fear-based and more but that we also have to honor, because if we are trying to hold it down and keep it at bay and we don't give it any kind of an outlet, whether it's art or just honoring our feelings or just asking for our needs or anything, then it will assert itself. Just like when you can't keep your grip on that beach ball and it comes flying out, it will assert itself through addictions, through acting out, through treating ourselves terribly, through poor habits. It has to be honored or it's going to wreak havoc.
This is the truth. So if you
Yeah.
don't give the shadow its due and allow it its expression, it has power over us. And
Right.
that's when we are not in control. Our I call it our authentic self. Our authentic self is then not in control. So that's why it's
Right.
very good to look at this stuff and like you say, give it outlet. So now you can tell us about how can astrology help us with our shadow?
Well, my favorite thing about astrology is first of all, the principle of astrology, or the sort of foundational idea, is that we come in to this life with a certain hardwiring. Like, we come in almost like with DNA, right? Well, we do come in with DNA.
We do, we do. It's not
We also,
almost.
yes. We also have planetary DNA and celestial DNA, where there is a snapshot of the sky above where you were born at the moment of your birth is your chart. If somebody was to go outside the minute you were born and take a picture and everything froze in space, the sun, the moon, the stars, everything just stopped moving, that would be your chart. And I don't know, why this works. I just know this works because what we then do is we correlate the chart with your life, and your personality, your temperament, all of that is there. So your shadow is there too. The parts of you that are, your weak links, if you will, or the less, comfortable, convenient parts of you, our cravings are there, our obsessions are there, our fears are all really in the chart. And you can see, is this person sensitive? Is this person prone to anger? Is this person prone to moodiness? Is this person, more perfectionistic than this person? Is this person more easygoing? And so what I love about astrology is knowing that we have a certain temperament that we are born with, takes a lot of the blame and shame out of it. And instead of thinking, oh, I should be more like this, I should be more positive, I shouldn't have depression, I shouldn't struggle with addictions, I shouldn't be, slower than my friends, I should be smarter than I am, I should be nicer than I am, all those things that we tell ourselves, all that noise and self-criticism that we all have. When a total stranger can look at a piece of paper or a computer screen and go, oh, wow, you've battled depression your whole life, or, oh, wow, when something goes wrong, you get really impatient more than most people. Like, when a person hears that, it's like saying you're not crazy, it's not your imagination, and you're not trying to be that way. That's who you are. And so given that that's who you are, how can you honor and support yourself more fully so that that part of you is more taken care of, and it will create less of a ruckus, right? It will.
Interesting.
Yeah. And
So
so the
fascinating.
healing.
This begs a question, and I don't know if I'm going to take you off topic here, but
Okay.
so how much of, our temperament is formed by our upbringing? Because I'm always saying, well, something happened to you in your childhood that made this shadow thing,
Of course.
So,
Yeah.
but it doesn't that sound like it's a little contradictory to you're born with it?
No, because guess what? They go hand in hand. So
Okay.
you have a certain destiny, if you will, to have the kind of childhood that you had.
Oh,
And if you had an absent mother, that's in the chart. If you
whoa.
have
You're kidding. Whoa.
no, if you have an overbearing father, that's in the chart. If you
Wow.
have an alcoholic parent, that's in the chart. If you moved a lot in childhood, that's in the chart. If
That's
you had a lot of
amazing.
disruption in your yeah, if you had siblings that hated you, that's in the chart. Okay, so
That is
so
amazing. There's a lot. So these are the Vedic charts, and they don't follow the 12 zodiac signs.
no, they actually do, but the biggest difference is the calculations are different. And so most people end up with a chart that's a different sun sign, moon sign, rising sign than what it is in the Western system. And then we originally had 27 signs
Whoa.
and not the 12 Greek, but somewhere along the way, the 27 were adapted into the 12 Greek signs because the 12 Greek signs are absolutely fantastic. It's just one kind of Leo will be different than another. And that's where, when you look more specifically at these smaller Vedic signs, You see why one Leo is really competitive and one isn't, and one Cancer is really hypersensitive and one isn't. It's all it gets even more into layers and subtlety and nuance. So
Interesting. So
yeah.
how would a person who knows their astrology handle their shadow?
Well, the hope, like I said, is really for self-understanding. And for then in relationships, there's three things that I love that astrology does to help a couple. So first, each person in the couple can use astrology to understand themselves more, and then they can use it to understand each other more. But then the relationship itself has a chart,
Right.
and the relationship itself is its own system. And understanding the system created between two people can help those people know what they need to do for the relationship. Because, it's so confusing, Neola, and I know you know this because you work with people too. But I think especially as women, we get so confused when we feel like a need isn't being met or a true desire isn't being honored.
Right.
It's so hard to know in a conflict in a relationship when the shadow comes up, right? It's so hard to know, what should I do? Should I try to get my need met? Should I give in to their need? Or is there actually another option, which is, what does the relationship need? What is best for the relationship?
Bingo. That's the successful relationship right there.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's hard because it requires that both people hold that as their mission statement for the relationship. Like, we're both going to do what's best for the relationship.
Right.
And when we're really emotional and we're really triggered, or we're really, up against it in our relationships, how do we know that what we think is best for the relationship really isn't just us wanting what we want, So it's hard. It's complicated. And this is where people need to call people like you and me.
This is where people need to learn to negotiate. Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yes.
Okay, so you're getting into when people get into difficulties in their relationships. So, how can astrology help us, like understand timing of events and why we might be going through these kind of difficulties?
There are cycles and seasons to everything in life, right? Sometimes everything's easy, sometimes it's not. And then you can compound things like life stage issues. I'm in heavy duty perimenopause right now. I'm like spacey, forgetful, moody, so
Yeah.
it's very intense. But what's so nice is, yet again, astrology can create that understanding and that appreciation of where you are and where your partner is. And maybe it isn't personal, and for 23 years, women came to me for readings. I don't do them anymore because I'm perimenopausal and I can't do 27 things anymore like I used to. Thank you very much.
I understand.
Women came to me and they would be so relieved when I would look at their partner's chart and I would say, oh, wow, honey, he's really stressed about work right now, and he's really actually fighting for his identity right now, and he's really feeling more insecure than he has in a long time. And when I would almost translate the man for the woman, this relief would come up, because as women, what do we do universally? And I know Neola, because you're one of us, right?
I hate to admit it.
We take things really personally, right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
So, if a partner is more distracted or focusing more of their attention over there than over here, we do that. Oh, I'm not pretty anymore. Oh, I've gained weight. Oh, I'm not as fun. Oh, I am not. He's bored. Like, we do all this, like, ooh, instead of going like, wow, how can I offer him more support, or how can I maybe help him feel better, because I know he has all this pressure over here. And so when I would translate partners for each other, and I've done this a lot for men too, it's such a relief to them. Just the feeling of like, oh, you mean everything isn't my fault? Not everything in my life is all my fault,
Yeah. And then, when, as you're talking about that, also we can ask ourselves, how can I take care of myself better? Because obviously I'm feeling a lack of whatever it is that I need. So let's see how I can, either you ask the guy if it's an okay timing, can you give this to me? I need it now. Or you find another way. You find a wonderful girlfriend. You find something to do for yourself, whatever you need to do. Yeah. But no, awesome. That is very important to not be able to take it personally. Oh my God.
Well, and it's not that it totally stops. I would love to tell you, oh, and then they feel completely fine and everything's great. No, I mean, it's, there's that dance, there's that tension.
Of course. Yeah.
But it does bring a piece to it, because sometimes nothing externally is going on, but you can see in people's charts when they feel that internal doubt, fear, pressure, again, the shadow, right?
Yes.
So maybe like the job is fine, the kids are fine, the health is fine, the parents are fine, like everything's fine, but there's something going on in here that isn't fine. And if they're not telling you, how are you supposed to know, right? So as women, we make up stories all day long. Oh my God, are we good at making up narratives, right?
We are meaning-making machines.
Right. Yeah, and it's dangerous. We have to be careful.
So you are describing to us how astrology helps us have fewer problems in our relationships. So, maybe you have a little bit more to expand on in that area. How to let us have as little a problem as possible in relationship.
Well, sometimes we go through cycles that are actually kind of long, unfortunately. And I'll see people on the tail end of like years of stuff. And I remember one time I worked with this woman. She came to me and she said, oh my God, my husband's been depressed for about 5 years. And actually, she didn't say 5. She said, my husband's been depressed for years and I just can't take it anymore. And it's just no fun and la, la, la. Because, depression makes you very myopic. It makes you very... there's not a lot of generosity available when somebody's depressed. So it's very hard to be with a partner that's going through depression. So I looked at his chart and I said, oh, it started 5 years ago and it's about to end. And she was starting to feel drawn to another man. Wow. And I said, he's actually coming out of like the dark. And do you really want to walk away and like lose all that to go off with
all those years of investment.
I know. And she called me and she was like, you don't even know, you saved me. That was such a relief. And you're right. He started getting better and better. And it's like, we're happy again. And thank you. Like, so, that's when it's so beautiful and profound. But it's hard when someone's more at the beginning of a tough cycle or in the middle of a tough cycle, because they come to an astrologer because they can't wait to hear all the good news. But sometimes it isn't good news. Sometimes it's like, oh, wow, you're in the winter of your discontent. No, gee, you have, 5 more years of that. And hey, good luck to you, So, I mean, what a reading can offer and provide is ways to navigate through it and validation that you're not imagining things and that you're not creating it yourself. Yes. And so a lot of the time that in itself is a healing, like that in itself is a huge lift of a burden. But it's also, it's not the shiny good news everyone wants to hear.
Well, so, at least it can help you understand what you're going through, or at least you got some clarity on it, like you say.
So I want to say to anyone listening, because most people turn to something like this because stuff isn't going great, right? So probably anyone watching this today or listening to us today has been in a pickle for a while and in a tough phase. And the thing that's so cool is, that saying, when it rains, it pours, right? It's like, if it's not one thing, it's another, Mr. Fader, right? So, well, the thing too about that is that these tough cycles tend to make everything tough, like work, money, health, kids, like everything gets tough at once. But then when you come out of it, everything gets better also. And they follow one after the other. You're never down, 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 down. It's like you're down, then you're up, then you're down, then you're up, then you're down, then you're up. And we all, really the key to life is learning how to be happy anyway and how to navigate, not to quote the Buddha here or.
Oh, yeah, no, please. We love quoting the Buddha. It's a spiritual show. I love it.
But yeah, so I think the Buddha said something like, fame and shame, it's all the same. It's like we have to be careful of being too high or too low. And And I just want to remind everyone, if you're in a relationship that was ever great and ever beautiful, it absolutely can be again. And I'm here to tell you, studies have shown a whopping 85% of people who are married and report to being very unhappy in their relationship, 5 years later say they're very happy. Okay. How crazy is that? And so it's because of this cycle thing, right? But we're so impatient as humans. And I'm so worried about this new generation because they have these things, right? And they have the internet, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like they haven't had to wait 5 minutes for anything. Right?
Yes.
So,
Right. Let alone
so
5 years for a cycle to be over with.
right. So, I just want to remind everyone, if it was ever great, how can you find compassion and love both for yourself and your partner? How can you give yourself a break? And how can you inject more fun and try to give things time? And then, try to ask for what you need in a loving way, because even if your partner is distracted, even if they've got pressure over here, they still have a job, right? Their job is still as your partner, and you're still allowed to ask for what you really need, So,
Yeah. So I have a lot of clients in my tribe who are single, looking for their relationship, wishing they were in yours and my shoes. And what can you say to them about astrology, about their shadow? How can you help them in finding their perfect mate?
Well, I think the shadow is also the part of us that lies to us. It's the part of us that says, like, oh, I'm unlovable. It's never going to happen for me. Oh, who am I kidding? I've had 3 dates in a year and they didn't go well, so forget it. I mean, I meet so many women, Neola, and I would love to hear if this is your experience. I still give seminars, which I just love, love, love. And these absolutely, I have one this weekend. They're so much fun. And these absolutely spectacular women show up at my door, and they're beautiful, and they're funny, and they're warm, and they're well-dressed. And they usually fly from out of state. It blows my mind.
Yes.
And they sit in my living room and they say, I haven't dated in 5 years. I haven't dated in 7 years. I haven't dated in 10 years. The last guy I dated, I was so hurt. And I never meet anyone now. And it's like they've completely shut their heart light off.
Yes.
And they've put themselves on a shelf. Yes. And they've totally given up. And then as the years pass and no man crosses a crowded room to speak to them, and no man stops them at Whole Foods, right? And says, you're the woman I've been looking for my whole entire life. Because what man is going to do that, right?
Especially when your heart is shut down. It's the energy's not flowing.
Exactly. Right. So they become more and more convinced that they are cursed and that this isn't for them, and that God and the universe has singled them out to die alone. And so anyone working with you, first of all, I applaud them for believing in love enough to call someone like you. I applaud them for being here with us today, because, yes, I believe in fate and destiny and all that stuff, but you also, the harder you work, the luckier you get, right?
Right, absolutely.
And you have to participate with your fate to get what you want. And yes, it was, predicted for me when I would get married. I've predicted it for lots of women. It's in your chart. But those same women, I've also often said, you need to be internet dating. And they're like, but if it's in the chart, I'm like, yeah, it's like the guy that's drowning and God sends the helicopter and the speedboat.
Right.
And they go, God, why did you forsake me? Why did I die? Well, I sent you the helicopter and the speedboat and the rescue team and the SEAL 6, right? So
you got to help yourself. God,
right.
God helps those who help themselves. We've heard that too.
Well, and we also, the bigger issue is that the more you practice, the more comfortable you are when there is that soulmate, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, the scariest thing that can happen to a human being is to meet a soulmate, right?
Yes.
I mean, oh my God. And if you've been on a shelf for 6 years, you're going to be wow needy. You're going to take everything so personally. You're going to have such scarcity thinking.
Yeah.
You're going to give this person all of your power.
Yeah.
So if they break a date, you're going to be a banshee. If they show up late, you're going to be an insecure, neurotic mess.
Yeah.
And it's like I get so I get so discouraged and sad for these women,
Yeah.
Yola, because everybody should be having way more fun.
Yes.
Just way more
I,
fun.
I, I am all for it. So, Carol, given all of that, why do you focus on relationships in your work?
Because I want to spread the news. I want to spread the gospel of romantic,
Yeah.
truth, which is that, everybody gets hurt, everybody gets knocked down, everybody gets discouraged, but you gotta want it and you've got to keep going. And every day's a new day. And if you had a bad experience, maybe you're just one bozo closer, So,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. I mean, I can't tell you, and everybody knows my story from the opt in video, but you got to be out there constantly up leveling your experience until you
right,
get to the level that you want to be at. And that's true in
right.
your work, in your money, not just
Oh,
in
God,
your relationships.
same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And your health, everything, everything. Right.
Everything.
Right.
So, you have shared with us so much about what you've learned about relationships from being an astrologer. And
Yeah.
I understand that you've got a fabulous free gift for my viewers today. And we have the link right down here below the video. So, you want to tell us about your report on the 5 astrological archetypes of relationships? It sounds really cool.
Yes, so it got so that after years of doing readings, it got so I could glance at a chart and I could know really at a glance what their biggest relationship challenges were. And I could also pretty much know if they were single, truthfully, or
Wow.
not.
Wow.
So for any of your single women listening,
Outrageous.
yeah. And what I was looking at was I was seeing basically personality patterns in the chart that would cause someone to respond to romantic situations a certain way, respond to strangers a certain way, behave in the world a certain way, make the effort or not make the effort, show up on dates a certain way. And there were really like 5 types again and again and again that I just kept talking with women about and seeing. And so I coined this term, the 5 archetypes, astrological archetypes of
Oh,
relationships.
cool.
And even for those of us that are married, we will have indicators of one or more of the archetypes. And then that will be the thing that in our relationship is where the shadow comes out, right? It's the part of the relationship that's still our greatest issue. And so, but what's so cool is it's not like, oh, hey, sorry, this is who you are and you're screwed, It's that with awareness, again, you can get support, you can have more self-understanding, you can take different actions, you can make different choices, you can find strategies to help you bust out of the limiting aspects of your archetype, because all the archetypes have strengths and gifts as well. So I'm really excited to share that with your people today.
Well, you know what I love about your entire message, and my mentor is Reverend Michael Beckwith, and what he
Okay.
always says is,
Nice.
you've got a fate, but you can take action and turn it into the destiny that you want. So
Beautiful.
so that's pretty much what I'm hearing from you is the stars are laying out, what's your tendencies, what's your propensity, what's your temperament,
Right.
what did you come in with? These are the
Right.
raw materials. And then the rest, it's still up to you. And you're saying,
Right.
once people learn how to take the right actions based on what's true. And what I'm seeing just from this interview with you is that Vedic astrology is just a really good tool for self-knowledge. Because
Yes.
this is one of the
Yes.
things about the shadow. The shadow is where we are blind. We don't see that stuff. We push it behind us. Robert Bly said we put it in a bag that we carry around behind us. So if you use this as a tool to get to know and see who you are, like the oracle at Delphi said, know thyself. This is the most
Right.
important thing. So you go to Carol, find out who you are, what you're made of, and then she will guide you to take the right actions.
Well, and I said that I don't give sessions anymore, but
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
I have a free newsletter and I have all these super fun reports that
There
can
you
give
go.
them all those answers at 3 a.m. for way less money on the spur of the moment. They don't have to call someone like me. They don't have to wait for weeks to see someone. They can get all their answers at the the click of a few keys.
So
Yeah.
what do you do? Do you do seminars? Do you talk? Are you
Yes,
okay? So that's you're on. So people can come see you speak.
absolutely.
And if
Absolutely.
you go to this link down here too, you can get access to all of the other stuff that Carol offers and keep in touch with her calendar and her events.
Right.
Any parting words before we sign off?
Just that, the other thing I've learned about astrology is every day is a new day, and you never know when your miracle is coming. And so, if you really truly have a desire in your heart, it's because it's meant for you. And, we aren't given real, genuine, true desires without the capacity and the destiny to be able to have them be fulfilled. So trust yourself, but know it's not in our time, it's in divine timing. And just keep on believing and keep on honoring your shadow and being who you are. So,
I love that. Mwah. Love what
thank
you
you.
just said. I'm all up with that. So thanks everybody for watching, and catch us again on Heal the Shadow in Your Relationships. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Neola.